What's the best part about dating a girl who's suicidal? That pussy is limited edition. What's up, weirdos? Scott here. Thanks again for visiting the channel. As always, I appreciate it. If this is your first time at the channel, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy the content if you're still here. And today, I'm doing a quick collection video, I guess. I haven't done a collection video yet, so I can't call it a collection update video. And also, I'm showing you guys my new knife case, my Nanuk 935. Wasn't that a Little John song? I don't know. Anyway, so the reason I have it closed right now is because I have everything out of it. I kind of just wanted to show it to you before I kind of started putting everything back in, so I can just kind of move it around and show it to you without it weighing 50 or 60 pounds. And also, it might get a little loud in here. I'm sorry. Hamlet's being a dick today, so he might be trying to ruin the video today. I'm not sure. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So again, the Nanuk 935, you can find this case at nanuk.com. I will put the link in the description of this video where you can find this case. You can either buy it with pre-made foam that they have, or you can get custom foam inserts from Guard Dog Inserts. I'll also be putting them in the description. You'll see those here in just a minute. So this is the top of the case, the front of the case where the locks are. You've got the two clamping locks like you do on like a Pelican case or something like that. And you've also got a locking handle, like a briefcase carry handle, that you can carry it that way. So that's nice. Also, on the bottom end, try not to hit the camera, you've just got two nice little wheels that will glide pretty easily across carpeting or any kind of hardwood surfaces. And then on the top of the case, you've just got two little handles here. One, obviously, that just carries it upright, and that's spring-loaded, so the handle goes back down into place. And this guy right here, if you push a little button on the side, it comes up, and that's your handle that will, I believe, extends to about 3 feet long, 2.5, 3 feet long, something like that. So that's kind of how it looks from the top there, but it's really not much to see. I just wanted you guys to be able to see all of that before I started putting the knives back into my case. So to open this guy, you just push down two little latches. Those will release the clamps, and then you can open the case. And the clamps will lock back down, so you don't have to worry about those getting in the way. Also, the top is spring loaded, so once you get it to about halfway open, the spring will take over and it will open it the rest of the way for you. There's the wheel wells for the wheels, there's the little well for the handle. It's a very nicely built case. I like it a lot. You've also got two little stainless steel rings here and here that you can use both on the top and the bottom to put like a padlock or something onto this case to keep it more secure if you want to. And you've also, I'm not going to try to show you, but they've got the rubber ring as well that goes around that to seal it and make it waterproof. So the first part here is just the bottom lining. These two pieces do come together from Guard Dog Inserts. I can't remember exactly how much the inserts were. I believe the inserts were something like $180, and I think the case was like, I think $160. So either way, you're still like $100 or $150 below getting like a Pelican case with like a those I think they're now pack inserts. Those come out to like $500 altogether, so kind of sucks. But just these guys I keep in the bottom just because they're kind of like my budget knives that I really like. I'm probably not going to ever get rid of them, but they hold a special place in my heart because a lot of them were firsts for me. And I really like each and every one of them. So the first one here is going to be the CGRB Krag. I've showed this on the channel before. I believe I've showed all these on the channel before, but I could be wrong. The CGRB Krag is just a very simple knife-shaped knife with kind of like a little bit of an aggressive kind of cleaver shaped blade on there. It's a simple steel liner lock with G10 scales. This particular one happens to be in the carbon fiber laminate. Action's pretty good. I'll try to move these as quick as I can, just to try to keep for, so this isn't a 45-minute long video. Also, my Buck 110. It's always going to be a staple of my collection for sure. I've always loved the Buck 110, and I think I always will. I think it's something that every knife collector should have in their collection for sure. Just a very simple wood grain handle with brass bolsters and the ever popular, or ever classic, I guess you would say, back lock. I like this knife a lot. It's a classic, just everyday knife that most people have carried throughout the entirety of their lives, up until probably 50 or 60 years ago when people started carrying a little more modern folding knives, which has grown to what it is today, which is kind of like a crazy place. You guys know that. Next one is the Kubi Carve. Again, very simple knife shape, very simple tanto profile. Nice lines, nice and comfortable. Got a little finger choil there. Fuller that you can use to open it if you want to. Simple stainless steel liner lock. These are all going to be stainless steel liner locks, I believe, except for a couple of button locks, maybe. Yeah. Next up, well, I'll probably get rid of this one at some point, but this is the Concept. Oh gosh, what is it? I forgot to look through the names of these knives before I started showing them. Oh man, what was the name of this one? The Concept. I can't remember. So there's numbers there. It says it's in D2. Yeah, I can't remember the name of this one. I can't believe I didn't remember to do that, you guys. I'm sorry. The Concept Cryo. Yes, I got it. The brain's still ticking. The Concept Cryo is a pretty comfortable knife. Nice to fidget with. Is that a slight recurve on there? I can't remember. Yeah, maybe an ever so slight recurve on that blade. Nice little kind of downturn here, drop point blade, nice little swedge up here, good opening hole. Very fun to fidget with. Nice little knife. It is a little tough to finger flick though. Next one is I believe this is the standard size. Well, I gotta show you the other ones too. The standard size Kaiser Sheepdog with the opening hole and no choil. Just a stainless steel liner lock, micarta scales. Very good action, as you can see. Very cool knife. Next one is the QSP Penguin. I might have shown this on the channel before, but I can't remember. I can't be sure. But most people in the knife community are familiar with the Penguin, the QSP Penguin. Very affordable budget knife that is also very good quality. Very good company. They've tried to come out with some newer stuff recently, but I don't know. There's always been some issues there with me for those. So I've never bought anything other than the QSP Penguin, but I do like some of their stuff. I just never really bought any of it. The next one, this is the Dam Designs Wendigo, something like that. Just a cool design. This other knife's kind of exactly the same thing. I think that one's the Banshee, but this one just has a huge hole in the center of it. The other one does not, but a nice tanto shape. These came in JG10, and I dyed these the specific colors that they are. Obviously, you can use the opening hole on this one to operate it, or the flipper tab. This one's pretty cool. I like the action on both of these knives. Very, very good action for just your standard budget knife. Running on bearings, which doesn't exactly mean anything. It just means it's got bearings in it, so it's easier to make it run smoother. But definitely good action, and I like the aesthetics of these knives. They got a nice little choil up here that you can use. Handles are very comfortable, and just cool lines, cool looking knives that look kind of like really aggressive and futuristic looking a little bit, in my opinion. That's why I like these. The next one is the Kaiser Beglitter. This was actually a late addition for me. I got this maybe about a year ago. And it's really nice. I like it a lot. I actually intended to get the brown micarta, but I think this is supposed to be like red linen micarta or something like that. Very good reflective stonewash finish. Standard drop point blade. Larger knife for sure. This is, I think, about like a 4-inch blade. Thumb stud. You can reverse flick it very easily. You can thumb flick it very easily. And it's also got a flipper tab. Pretty cool knife. I may keep in my collection. I may not. I don't know yet. But yeah, it's a neat little knife. And the next one is going to be the, oh gosh, Civivi. Starts with a W. That's all I can tell you. The Civivi something. It has something to do with a dragon. That's why they have these scales on here. I can't remember the name of the knife, though. It's a cool little knife. It's obviously a budget knife. You just got bribery scales with regular DLC-coated, probably D2 blade, I'm guessing. Let's see what that is. Yeah, D2 blade. The Wyvern, I believe it's called. Something like that. The Wyvern. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's something like that. It's nothing exciting, but it's just a cool little knife to have. I don't really like orange in scale colors, but I never really took the time to dye that or anything. But next up is the, excuse me, the Civivi, oh gosh. Oh, I guess I wanted to test myself today. The Civivi Backlash. The Civivi Backlash is your very most knife-shaped knife in the knife community, in my opinion, today. Very good quality. You've got nice stainless steel liners here with this metallic blue coating on them. Makes a little pop of the knife. You've got just simple black stainless steel, or sorry, simple black G10 scales. Nothing really exciting about this knife, but the action is fantastic. And it's very easy to use, very easy to take out, use, and put away. Just a fantastic little EDC knife that you can carry with you everywhere you go. It's not intimidating, it's not flashy, it's what you need to get the job done. I think this was like 40 or 50 bucks, which is pretty good. The next two were probably my favorite Civivis, but this one was the first real Civivi that I bought, which this is the Civivi Praxis. In the Damascus version, which doesn't really mean much, it's just standard, relatively inexpensive Damascus steel. It's the same process, it just, less expensive steels, which are probably easy to work with. I don't know, they might be, they might not be. Standard G10 scales, standard stainless steel liners. This is a liner lock as well. Very good size knife for somebody like me who has a bigger hand. This is the perfect EDC knife, in my opinion, as far as budget knives are concerned. And this other one, this is the Civivi Insight, pretty much exactly the same knife. But I did want this one really, really badly, but this was when I first got into the knife community. I was in this territory when this knife came out, so I got really excited about it. I did the pre-order, and they ended up deciding not to make it. I think so. The only ones that were left over were the ones that they sent out for people to show off. So I told myself if I ever was able to get one of those, I was going to get it. So I was able to get this guy. I didn't take a lot. I didn't pay too much for it or anything like that, but it's just a cool little knife to have. As you can see, they're both pretty much exactly the same knife. Let's see if I can get you a good view of that. But yeah, they're pretty much same size. Slight differences in shape on the handle and the blade. But it's pretty much exactly the same knife, just different names. And these just happen to have the Damascus steel on them because those were the ones that I wanted when I saw them come out. I was so excited about Damascus steel before I really knew what it was going, what went into it, and the regular stuff was a lot cheaper than the more expensive stuff. So, all right, now I got to put the other insert in. You guys are about to get a front row seat of what my average Saturday night looks like. See what I did there? Sorry. So there's no way for me to put this back in here without emptying a few of the slots first. Let's call them slots. Slots. S-L-O-T-S. Okay. Sorry, guys. Almost there. If I can keep from scratching my knives up completely, that would be awesome. Okay. 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 Okay, so this is the top row, obviously. These two rows right here, this is going to look kind of strange because these two rows right here, I don't know that there's any other way they could have done this, but these two rows right here are shallow, I think about 1.5 inches, 2 inches deep. The rest of these, excluding this row here, are all the same size. I'm not sure what by what. And then these are the same depth as the rest of these, but these ones up here, at least from, I can't tell exactly, I think from like here over, they're wider this way than most of the other pockets. So I'll go through these as quick as I can. I did try to keep them in order of like their group, and anything, stop with the groups and then go with the rest of the knives that don't have pairs, that sort of thing. And then I've got some budget stuff back here, and then some other stuff that's too wide to keep anywhere else. That's what she said. So I did want to show you, I can't show you my Sheepdog XL because that's up here holding my flashlight so that you can see stuff down here because it's super dark. So I won't show you that, but most of you guys are probably going to know what the Kaiser Sheepdog looks like. If you don't, just go ahead and look it up on anywhere on the internet. Should be able to show you. Amazon will be able to show you. And this is the concept. I can't remember what the hell they called this thing. Oh gosh, I'm sure the name of it's on there. Sometimes it is. Yeah, the Corvid XL. Corvid. I wanted to say COVID, and I knew that wasn't right. So this is just a big, fat, crazy, ridiculous knife for no apparent reason. Very nice coating on the blade. Just a big, fat knife. Obviously got a heavy blade, so it's going to fall right back down into the handle. Thumb flick works great. Finger flick works great. This is just something silly to have. It's really not an expensive knife. It's just but it's too big to fit into the case. So starting from bottom right, the Para 3, the smallest version of the paramilitary line. You've got the paramilitary, the paramilitary 2, and then you've got the Para 3. They did not name the Para 3 the paramilitary 3. They just named it the Para 3, and I'm not sure why they did that. But that is an important distinction in the knife community. If you don't use the term correctly, you will be shunned. I'm just kidding. The Paramilitary 2, or the PM2, this is my Robin's Egg version. River's Edge Cutlery does an exclusive version every once in a while where they Cerakote some stuff to look like Robin's Egg. Sometimes they splatter it with like black paint or black Cerakote, and it makes it look more like a Robin Egg. They didn't do that with mine, which is fine. They do still make these. These are being made in batches of 10. And they are only making, whenever they decide to make 10 more, they're going to make 10 more. I think they've done one drop since I got mine, and mine was number 16, I think. Yeah, mine was number 16. So you've still got quite a few runs to go still. I can't remember where it shows me that on here, but a cool little knife. I've got a whole bunch of paramilitary 2s here. Bear with me. Paramilitary 2 in aluminum, and that's in CTS BD1N. That's kind of like, I don't really know much about that steel, so I'm not going to try to speak on it. Cool little knife. You can see the aluminum's dinged up there a little bit, but I like the action on this guy. I also like the acoustics on it. Another paramilitary 2, just S45VN and Blurple G10 scales. Next up is the, I want to say S90V version in the seafoam green scales, like teal maybe. They call that teal. This dust gets everywhere. Sorry guys, but the teal in CPM S90V. Yeah. Next one is the Crucarda. Crewware and natural micarta. Very nice steel. I love Crewware a lot. Hopefully it's not really going to be too bad with as far as corrosion is concerned, but we'll see. I live in an area that corrodes really badly, really easily in Pennsylvania. So next up is another one. I think this one's also just S45VN. Nope, I'm sorry. This was CPM M4. My coated blades all obviously look the same, so it's hard for me to keep track. And just regular translucent G10 scales. These scales came on my Tanto Paramilitary 2 when I bought it off of eBay. This is the first fat carbon PM2 that I bought, the Arctic Frost fat carbon fiber scales, which I got from Smoky Mountain Knife Works. These came in M4, but the blade on this one is S45. Next up, my Jungle Wear Fat Carbon, also from Smoky Mountain Knife Works. This one is in M4, so this is the original knife, the original handle parts, and all that stuff. Next one is, God, how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11. I have 11 paramilitary 2s. Good Lord. All right, next one is my, oh, I didn't fail it. The Warncliffe PM2, which I got from a cutlery shop. The last time I talked about this, I couldn't remember where the hell I got it. I got it from Cutlery Shop. They did some of these in, so this I believe was S35, no, S30V. And they did release both coated and uncoated versions of this knife. Very slicey, very acute cutting tip. Kind of looks like a Plague Doctor's mask. I really love this blade. Next up is my favorite PM2, which that's my Tanto, which I failed, so I'm dumb. My Tanto PM2, which looks beautiful in my opinion with these the Arctic Storm Fat Carbon scales, which I got from Sharp Dressed Knives. And like I said, the knife itself, just standard S30V, but I got this off of eBay because Blade HQ is still holding them hostage. The last PM2 I have in here is my my Avocado PM2. FDE coating from River's Edge Cutlery, which they do exclusively for this knife. And then you've got just the OD green scales, G10 black hardware, black liner normally. They didn't do that with the earlier versions of this knife. That's why I have the one with stainless liners in it. Love this knife a lot. I really do. The Paramilitary 2, I'm probably going to always have at least 4 or 5 in my collection for sure. Next up is my next Avocado. Sorry guys, the dust in here is just ridiculous. Not regular dust, the shavings from the, drilling out the holes for the pockets there. My Manix 2, my Avocado Manix 2, also obviously from River's Edge Cutlery. This one sees a lot of use, so it's got a few marks on it. Beautiful knife. Love the contrast of these two colors, especially with the black coating on the liners and the hardware and all that. I really love that. Last up, and this part is the Shaman. The Shaman. I call it the Shaman. My favorite Spyderco for sure. Super comfortable, hard use, thick blade stock, nice jimping on the spine there. Just a wonderful knife to use. I really love this knife. Another Manix 2, the lightweight version. This is in teal, or I don't know what other color that might be, just kind of a greenish color. And this is CPM Spy 27. I believe this is Spyderco's proprietary CPM steel that they make just for Spyderco. Slicey little knife, super duper comfortable. Love the Manix 2, one of my favorite knives in the world, along with its bigger brother, the Manix 2 XL. I've got a couple of those as well. Okay, next up, the Spyderco Smock. Anybody knows who Smock Knives is? It's a gentleman that does custom knives, stuff like that. And he collaborated with Spyderco and made a knife of his design. Just absolutely gorgeous. Love the lines on this knife, the design language. Love the way they ground the blade. I'm a big fan of this is kind of like a Warren's foot blade, I guess you would call it. I don't know if I want to call that a Warncliffe or a sheep's foot blade, but just absolutely love this. And I wish the hole was a little bigger, but it is what it is. It's not a huge blade. That's not a button lock. That is a compression lock that is operated by a button externally on outside of the handle. You've got some speed holes here, which I'm not a huge fan of speed holes, but you can't get this knife without it. You can get aftermarket scales for it that don't have holes in them, but really love this knife. My wife even loves this knife. I bought one for her as well. You can operate this with the hole, or you can operate it with these little bumps here that you can use as flipper tabs. So very cool knife. I like it a lot. Sorry guys, I'll try to speed it up. We're at 25 minutes already. My 80-20.5. This is one of my size comparison knives that I show on each and every one of my reviews. So you guys are probably pretty familiar with that. The Ritter Hogue RSK MK1 G2. Very cool knife. As Metal Complex says, he thinks that this is kind of like the point of diminishing returns when it comes to price and quality. So this is probably the best quality This is probably the best quality knife that you can get for the money. These usually run around $180 to $200, depending on what you're looking for exactly. And this is just G10 scales. I can't remember what they call this, but it's kind of like a purplish mashup of different colors. There's some black and some gray in there, I think, too. Just a very cool knife. A lot like a beefier kind of bug out sort of thing. But yeah, I really, or I'm sorry, this is from the Benchmade Griptilian. So yeah, really cool knife. I like it a lot. Very fidgety. It's got the axis lock. I like the axis lock. I do like the RAM-LOK a little better, but they are different enough locks to you can keep them separated. Next up is my Spyderco. Now the reason these are not still Spydercos over here is just because, like I said, these wells are shallower, so I couldn't put a lot of my Spydercos in there. But the Spyderco Resilience? I think this is the Resilience, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but I think that's the name of this knife. Very cool knife. This is from their budget line, kind of like their budget line. Spyderco has a budget line that's like the bird line, I believe it's called. But if it has a spider on it, then that's just Spyderco's lower cost line, and those are like the they're different human traits. There's the resilient, there's the tenacious, there's a whole bunch of them. I can't remember what they are, but I think the tenacious and the resilient are the most popular ones, because this one's a 4-inch blade with a 5-inch handle, so you've got a 9-inch knife here, just a good size knife. Actually, and I'm going to be comparing this guy with the military, the military 2. Not the paramilitary 2, but the military 2, the bigger guy. Because these are kind of the same knife, almost. This one obviously is a little bit higher quality, but this one is you know, it'll get you through whatever you needed to get you through. You could fucking survive in the jungle with this guy. And I'm not sure, I can't remember how much it costs, but it's definitely a hell of a lot cheaper than the military 2 here is. But that's those two knives that I have. I forgot to bring a drink. I'm parched. Next up is my SOCOM Elite, Microtech SOCOM Elite. When I got into Microtech, there was some OTFs that I got. I wanted to get this guy. This was the goal when I got into buying Microtechs. I really wanted a SOCOM Elite. Ever since I saw it, you know, on YouTube, I just, oh my god, that's an amazing looking knife, and it looks really fucking cool, and I have to have it. So finally I was able to get one, and it was in my favorite blade shape. I am a slut for Tontos. So yeah, glad to have this one in my collection for sure. I love the titanium liner lock on this guy. I really, really do. I also love the acoustics with this knife. An absolute, I really, really love it. Actually, it's really funny. Let me see if I can show you. So I noticed here that there's a little lip right there, right here. You can see there's kind of like a cut, almost like a nail nick in the aluminum, and I can't see any specific reason for that to be there. It doesn't make sense that it's there. And I had sent Metal Complex a message about it. I sent him a real close-up picture of it, and I said, "Hey, I'm just checking. It's not really a big deal. It's not something I'm going to send back over, but is this normal?" I said, "You know, is this something that, you know, is supposed to be there?" I said, because I can't figure out any reason for it to be there. And I can't imagine how many hundreds of emails, or even thousands of emails a day he gets. I can't imagine. But after, I don't remember, after some time, I can't remember how long, but he responded to that message. He's like, "Huh." He's like, "No, I've never seen it before." He's like, "But I looked and mine has the same thing." I was like, "Really?" And I was like, Jesus, I was like, that's fucking weird. I don't know why that's there, but if it's supposed to be there, then it's supposed to be there. Not a big deal. I just thought that would be a cool story, bro. So also I love the SOCOM Bravo. The SOCOM Bravo is basically the same knife, only prettier, much, much prettier. This one was made in China by Reich. That's your little symbol there. And you've got the little anodized titanium pivot collar here, carbon fiber inserts for the titanium. You've got a nice little titanium clear big old backspacer. Cool stuff on the other side. Nice little details on the blade. Thank God they've got their little branding all over the front of the blade there. I love it when they do that. Next up is going to be my RAM-LOK line. So you've got the AMFIBIAN. This is one of my favorite Microtechs in my collection. Big ass knife, actual recurve blade. I don't like recurves at all, but this one's just a little subtle recurve, nice belly on it. I love the lines. It kind of just, it looks like a sacrifice knife to me. Plenty of room for the thumb. I mean, not that I know what a sacrifice knife looks like, but plenty of room for my hand, and it's so comfortable. The pocket clip on this guy doesn't get in the way at all. And I also want to mention, I love the pocket clip on this guy so much better than I love the ones on the other two knives here. I love this pocket clip. I really, really do. I love it. I like it a lot. Okay, love the RAM-LOK. I've discussed that yesterday, or maybe the day before. I can't remember. The stitch. This guy actually is going to be on its way to my buddy Ian here pretty soon. He wanted to take a look at it. So I said, that's fine. And I don't know why I'm talking in a southern accent. So the stitch was one of the knives that I've wanted to have in my collection since very early on. Absolutely love this knife. Such a cool looking knife. The lines, the way everything meets up so perfectly. The way the blade is ground. I don't know why I kind of want this to be a hollow ground blade, but it's not. But that's not the end of the world. Huge finger oil. Huge finger choil. Huge opening window. Nice jimping on the thumb ramp there. Nice jimping on the finger choil. And access lock. You've got this bent titanium clip. I believe that's titanium. I can't check it with my flashlight. But yeah, I like this knife probably the most in the 3 RAM-LOK knives that I have. I kind of expected that to be the case. I've always wanted a manual stitch. I just didn't know if they'd ever come out with one. And then there's the RAM-LOK. This one kicked it all off. This was the first RAM-LOK knife that they released. Very simple sheep's foot blade shape, very nice long blade. I was very happy that that's, you know, how they released this. I was hoping they wouldn't make a tiny knife. And they released it for a relatively reasonable price, which I think it was like $250 or something like that. Milled G10 scales, as are all 3 of these guys. The same bent titanium clip on the MSI. It's the same kind of knife, just different shape. But I like these 3 a lot. Microtech OTFs, my biggest and most powerful OTF, the SOCOM, the SCARAB 2. This guy has, I think, nearly a 4-inch blade, and a very easy to use switch here that I can operate like pretty much with my index finger, which is crazy, especially going back in. Whoops, I almost dropped it. But yeah. Going back in is very simple to do. You just pull the switch back and it brings the blade back into the handle. That's much easier to do than it used to be, the way Microtechs had their switches. I don't know if calibrated is the right word. You've got your Krug cutters there. That's just something that they mill into there to kind of collect some of the garbage, and you can kind of get that out later. You've got the grippy tape here, another bent titanium clip. With a glass breaker, just a big aggressive looking OTF, fantastic action. It's very reliable. It doesn't ever fail unless I'm being crazy and just like going like machine gun fire with the blade. So, and you shouldn't be doing that anyway, so that's my fault. Dirac Delta, there is a smaller version of this. My wife has it. This is just a standard Dirac. This one is the Dirac Delta. Another bent pocket clip. I believe this one's stainless steel. Slide is on the lateral portion of the, well, depending on how you're looking at it. If you're calling this the front of the knife, the switch is on the front of the knife. If you're calling this the top, then the Combat Troodon would have the switch on the top of the knife. So this is on the face, and I really like it there. It's very comfortable. Makes it so you don't really have to do anything after you have the knife deployed. And this blade is just so wicked looking. It's the same exact blade as I have on my Combat Troodon. This one is bronze though. I'm sure that's showing up on the screen there. So just a cool looking knife. I actually traded this for partial payment of a Colt, not a Colt, but a 1911. And I really love that pistol, but it was a little much for me. I like something a little smaller. So I got a hold of my buddy, and he sold it back to me. So I was super happy to have this back in my collection. Next up is, like I said, the Combat Troodon. That one's next. It's pretty much the same knife, just a little blockier handle setup. And a different kind of switch. Definitely the most difficult switch to actuate in Microtech's lineup, just because they're a little bit thinner than the anterior facing switches, so they're harder to kind of grip onto the thumb. And with the way they have these switches set up, they're a little more difficult to actuate and to disengage, just because that's kind of like a safety measure, I believe, that they took, so that this thing doesn't like pop out in your pocket and stab you in the leg. Not that it would stab you very, very hard. Most people know by now that these knives, if you put them against anything and deploy the blade, it's going to hit whatever that it's in front of. Even if it's like a thin piece of cardboard or human skin, it will puncture the very, it'll just puncture right at the very tip, and then it will stop. It won't go any further than that. You can't kill somebody by putting a knife up against their stomach and deploying the blade. That's not going to do anything. All that's going to do is piss them off, and then they're going to beat the hell out of you. So don't do that. Okay, that's it for the Microtechs, I believe. Next up are my Hinderers. This is the Hinderer Project X. Love this knife. I believe this is S45. Yeah, S45. Blue anodized lock side, textured titanium, looks fantastic. G10 on the other side, and this guy has this little tooly jobby thingy that you can use to disassemble the knife if you need to. So that just kind of pops right out. It's a little difficult to do, but it makes me feel better that it's not going to fall straight out of the knife. Then you can use the very tip of this to undo the pocket clip, and then you can use the bigger part down further there to undo the pivot and the butt screw and the body screw. So pretty cool little feature on this guy. Like it a lot. Really happy to have this knife in my collection. Might actually have to loosen that screw up a little bit because that tool is still a little tight in there. That's what she said. Okay, so that's it for this one. Just a standard frame lock knife. I think that's... I don't know if Rick Hinderer makes anything other than frame locks, other than his automatic. Except XM24, I showed this on the channel yesterday. It's got some bronze accents placed on it, along with a aftermarket scale. Very cool, regular titanium finish, stone washed, and this is S45 VN. Probably my favorite knife in my collection. Actually, it is my favorite knife in my collection. I think it just named it that. The XM18, the little brother of the XM24. Fidgy little knife, like it a lot. Fits in my hand great. It's a good hard use knife, probably for normal sized people, not people who are troglodytes like me. Very pretty. I added some blue anodized hardware here. I think this is a gorgeous knife. This is one of my favorite knives in my collection, for sure. My ASK, American Service Knife. This is made by Greg Medford, the same gentleman that owns Medford Knife and Tool. Just your standard kind of Swiss Army style knife on steroids. All the liners are titanium. All the steel is S45VN. You've got a little screwdriver here, and you've also got a bottle opener. Excuse me. A knife, little pry tool here, scraper with a hex driver on it. Just very easy to use, and you can see that this guy here, the way he designed this knife, he designed it for the head of the screwdriver to be up above the pivot, so that when you're pushing in on whatever it is that you're screwing or unscrewing, you're not going to end up in a situation where you're pushing the knife down. You're not going to run into that situation. So that's a really cool feature of these. All of it's made in the USA. That's why it's so expensive. I think these run in at around $200. I can't remember what all this stuff costs, so if I do remember what it costs, I'll tell you if I can. I'm doing pretty good about remembering the names so far. Rat Model 2, standard size comparison knife. Everybody knows what most of the people know in this community what this knife is. If you don't, it's just because you just got here. Welcome. We're glad to have you. So the Rat Model 1, Rat Model 2, both pretty much the same knife, just different sizes. The Rat Model 1 obviously is going to be a little bit bigger than the Rat Model 2, but these are really good, just everyday hard use knives. You know, they've just got nylon pivots so that you don't get all kinds of shit in the pivot or anything like that. You can wash these off, keep using them. Not the greatest steel in the world, but it's not the worst either, so it's easy to sharpen when you do need to sharpen it. And these come in, I think, around 40 bucks, 40, 45 bucks. That's not too terrible. This is something that could last you for the rest of your life if you wanted it to. Next up is going to be the EMPEDC Nimble X. So this is their XM version. Oh, my buddy Ian put some stuff on the blade there. I forgot to clean that off. Sorry, guys. See if I have a washcloth around somewhere. I don't actually say it that way. I was just kidding. Sorry about all the hair, guys. I've got 3 dogs, 4 cats, and then there's Hamlet. Okay, almost there. Sorry, guys. Suck at this job. Okay, the Nimble X. Just a cool little knife, stonewash finish, titanium scales, little blue accents here and there. Frame lock knife. It's really, really cool. The very good action, and you've also got, I mean, it's fidgety as hell. You've got a flipper here. You've got the, what do you call that? The middle finger flick. You've got the thumb flick. Everything works really well. And then you've also got the front flipper, which you can, if you don't get on the lock bar, you can open that with the thumb flipper. I don't think you can do the reach around with this guy, but I might be wrong about that. Yeah, you can. You can do the reach around as well. Very cool. It's a little bit small, in my opinion, to be called an XL knife, but they didn't call it an XL knife. They call it the Nimble X. So I guess that's where they get the, you know, the workaround there. What is this, like 8 inches exactly? Yeah, 8 inches exactly with a 3.5-inch blade. So that, in my opinion, that's kind of just a full-size knife, but it is what it is. If you look at the Nimble is definitely a smaller knife, so I'm happy to have a bigger one for sure. I love this knife. Then there is the the EMPEDC Pulse. Their version of the OTF that they released recently. They released a version a while ago from China, and they just released recently another version from the United States. So you can get more expensive versions of this, less expensive versions of this, but from what I'm hearing, they're all pretty much consistent no matter what. The ones from America might have a little bit better materials on them, but the action on this guy is absolutely spectacular. Easy to actuate, easy to disengage, smaller so that you can just put it in your pocket. You know, you take it out, use it, put it back in your pocket, and it doesn't get in the way. I really love this knife. If I'm going to carry an OTF, it's going to be this one. Next up is the Vero Axon. Sheep's foot blade coated with DLC. Basically just titanium scales, DLC coated hardware, and a DLC coated titanium Mills pocket clip. Frame lock knife. My buddy Ian sent me this in liner lock version, which I'm excited to take a look at, but I haven't been able to do it on camera yet, so I haven't looked at it yet. Next up is the Vero Synapse XL. Larger knife, much larger knife, but I really love this knife. As you can see, I don't use it at all, so there's no marks or anything on the blade. This is one of the few knives that I don't really use. It's not that I will not use this knife, I just haven't happened to use it yet. The only Save Queen that I have is my Evo 3.0. I've got the Timascus kit for this guy, so you've got the Timascus pocket clip there, very, very nice, and then you've got the Timascus backspacer, if I can get that to focus. There you go. Cool looking knife. I really love the action on this guy. Very smooth. Opens very easily. Closes very easily. And you can even front flip this guy, I believe, if I can get the right grip on it. Oh, almost had it. There we go. Yeah, front flips very easily. Very cool knife. I love Vero's design language. I'm probably going to end up owning every knife that he makes. TRM Shadow. Yes, it's missing the filler tab. I was cleaning it a little while ago and I forgot about it, and I stood up and I lost the filler tab, so I have to buy another filler tab. But cool little knife. Not a huge knife, but it definitely it's a full-size knife for what it is. It's definitely a compact knife, but you still got, I believe, like close to 3.25 inches of cutting edge here with the finger choil. And Axis style lock, works very well. I think they call it the river lock. And then just mill G10 scales with a stainless, is it stainless or titanium? I want to say this is titanium. I think the pocket clip is titanium. But it's just a cool little knife. I'll leave this out for a second so I can compare it to the Atom. The TRM Atom, a little bit of a longer knife, a little bit of a slimmer knife. But as you can see, kind of some of the same lines. You've got this little finger choil up here. You've got a little milled out spot to get to the liner lock there. And it's pretty much just the same pocket clip on the other side. These are both thumb stud operated knives. They're smooth closing action. They are not fall shut because they're on bearings. They are very smooth though, very, very smooth. They feel very nice going back into the handle. Feels so nice. Okay. And I love the way they do their little logo here on the blade. I love the way they etch that in there or mill it in there. I'm not sure how they do exactly. The Benchmade Adamas, one of the only 2 Benchmade knives that I own. Not a huge fan of Benchmade. I'm sure you guys can figure out why, especially lately. But the Adamas was worth it for me. It's a decently sized, decently priced knife, especially for what you're getting here. So this guy's in crew wear with, I believe this is supposed to be like a, I can't remember what they called it, but this is kind of like a DLC finish sort of thing. G10 scales, stainless steel liners, Axis lock, very cool knife. Next up is the Benchmade Super Freak. Super Freak. Yeah, I love this knife. It's and again, it's a knife-shaped knife. It's got very good lines, very comfortable, flared at the back, so give you a little bit more security. You can't choke up on it, but there is a little bit of a sharpening choil here. Nicely contoured scales. You've got different color G10 here. Little cartridge liners, little red accents on the standoffs just to give it a little pop. It's a really, really well done knife, in my opinion. Very, very cool, nice action. Whips it back into the handle with that Axis lock. Next up is going to be my Sharp by Design Evo Typhoon by Brian Nadeau. Tanto, compound grind, harpoon, fuller, opening hole, which you technically can use. It's not reliable or comfortable to do. I don't know what the hell that was. Sorry, guys. But yeah, I love this knife. Titanium. You've got the carbon fiber inlays here. The cool little pocket clip. I'm not a huge fan of the pocket clip, but I don't hate it. And I love his ramp detent system here. It's a completely different feeling from anything else that you're ever gonna feel. And I really, really love how tactile it is and how smooth it is. It's a really good feeling system. Next up is the Arcona Buron. I don't know exactly how to say it, but a very cool knife. Actually, I think his name is Ivan Braganets. He designed this knife, and I got it from Knife Nuts podcast. I talked to Levon, and he said, "Oh, I've got a few more left." So I was like, "Sweet!" And I ran and I bought one, and I love it. And I showed this on my channel, and Yvonne, I'm not sure it's Yvonne or Ivan, actually sent me an Instagram message saying, "Hey, I'm glad you liked my knife. Thanks for showing it off." And I was like, that's really cool that this guy messaged me. So, I said, "Hey, no problem, man. I love the knife." And this is a really cool locking system. It's kind of like a frame lock, but it's cut into the scale instead of just a huge chunk of it being cut out and all moving at the same time. They just cut out a pocket of the titanium and then cut out a relief on the inside so that it would move back and forth. And that's got a piece of stainless steel connected to it, which locks up the knife. And it's a pretty early lockup, actually. I'm surprised it stays as solid as it does. But I've done some whacking with this. So I've hit this on a block of wood, and it didn't do anything. So, and I love the way they milled the titanium pocket clip here, the anodization there. This is a fantastic, and you can see with the action. I mean, the action is just disgusting. It's so gross how awesome this knife is. It really is. The front flipper works very, very well, very reliably, and I'm not good at front flippers. You do have to kind of figure out where to put your hand with this knife, but otherwise, once you get the hang of it, this knife has probably the best action of any other knife in my collection, except for maybe my Berg Blades Barber, but that's not really fair because that's a button lock, so it just kind of swivels free. This one does not do that. It's obviously on bearings, but I mean, this, just watch this. Here. Just barely going to get it past the detent. And then I'm just going to kind of just slowly move it up. You can't get the knife to stick no matter what you do. Gravity just keeps taking it down. Yeah, that's as far as I got before it fell into the handle. That was just barely over, I don't know, what is it, 90 degrees? I don't know. But yeah, this thing is just insanely smooth. Sorry guys, moving on. Jesus, almost an hour. Okay, the BERG Blades BERG Blades Iron Wolf. Basically your ultimate hunting knife. I love this thing. It's big, it's beefy, it's a nice thick blade stock. I mean, not like 185 thousandths, but it's a nice thick blade stock. Some nice scalloping here so you can get to that flipper tab without putting your finger on the titanium. Titanium milled pocket clamps, titanium milled backspacer. I believe the serial number, yeah, 42 of 55. Titanium pocket clip, very cool. Frame lock knife, flipper only action. It is a little tight. Not sure why that is exactly, but I'll take a look at it. All right, next up, the Ziphius. Probably one of my favorite button locks, if not my favorite button lock. I love Wharncliffe's. I'm a slut for Wharncliffe. You guys know that. Thumb stud operation. Also got the flipper tab there, but I think the thumb stud is definitely my most satisfying method of deploying. I can't really make a decision between the finger flick and the thumb flick, but it's so satisfying. It really is such a crisp detent. Like you know what it's gonna go, and you let go and it fucking fires and locks into place. And you know, I've done things with this knife that I would never do with any other knife. Just move it very, very quickly, trusting that I've gotten my finger out of the way just because I'm so used to it. But yeah, this could be a very dangerous knife if you start playing with it and don't know what you're doing, because it's a very thin blade stock. Very thin blade stock that comes down to a very thin cutting edge, and you can see an extremely acute piercing tip at the end. Very nice knife though. I really love the action, super smooth. It does bounce a little bit at the end, but sometimes people like that. Carbon fiber kind of wraparound backspacer here. Titanium pocket clip. Can't remember if I mentioned that already, but obviously my favorite thing about this knife is going to be the blade. Love the blade, especially with the horizontal grinds here, and then I believe they have vertical grinds. Yeah, the grinds are vertical on the flat, so that's a nice contrast there. Next up is my Protex Strider SNG, which I do love this knife. I do love the Strider SNG, but I'm probably never going to buy a real one. This is close enough to the real thing for me to be satisfied. And I guess that's what you're looking for if you're going to not be able to afford the real thing. It's still an expensive knife. I think it's like $250 or $280 or something like that. Fantastic hard firing action. I can close it with one hand, but that's only because I've practiced a lot with this knife. With something like that, you have to be very, very careful when the knife is under tension. If you're not supremely confident that you can hold on to this guy and close it with one hand, don't. Because you're going to lose your grip on it, and it's going to go flying, and your brain is going to take over, and you're going to go try to catch it, and it's going to go into your hand or chop your finger halfway off or something like that. Don't do what I'm doing unless you've practiced up to it for at least a couple of months. It's not a good idea. These things are not... I mean, it's not exactly the lightest amount of pressure that you have to use. So doing it just with a finger is not a good idea unless you're experienced with it. Just a PSA. The more you know, and knowing is half the battle. Protech Malibu. Another one of my favorite knives that are small. I'm not a huge fan of small knives. You guys know that. But this is definitely a winner, especially the Wharncliffe version. The other one, I believe, was a Tonto, or like a reverse Wharncliffe. But yeah, this is cool. I love this knife a lot. It fits very comfortably in my hand. It is a little small for me, but when I'm really locked in, I can... This isn't going anywhere. It's not exactly a Vaseline factory knife, because this, you know, these scales don't have any gripitude to them. You've got a stainless steel pocket clip here and a standard button lock. But this was the button lock that came out, I think, a couple of years ago. That kind of was like the first button lock where there was zero blade play whatsoever. Everybody got really excited about these. Took me like 6 months to be able to get a hold of one. And it's just a really cool knife. I think it's a good knife to have for anybody to have in their collection for sure. Next up is going to be, oh boy, I want to say the Civivi Ortis, I think it is. I think this is the Civivi Ortis, but I could be wrong. Beautiful, real, actual carbon fiber scales here, which are milled. And then you've also got a, what do you call it? A Damascus blade, a black hand-rubbed Damascus blade. Very, very nice. Inexpensive. I think this was like $75 or $85, maybe $120. I can't remember. I think maybe the regular ones were like 60 or 80 bucks, and the Damascus version was like 120 or 130 or something like that. But it's a really cool knife. Just a regular budget EDC knife, budget range EDC knife. It's a little small for me to be able to use, but I think it's for somebody with normal size hands. This is a spectacular EDC knife. It works great with the finger flick. It works great with the flipper tab. I can't remember if you can thumb flick this or not. Yeah, you can. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do, but yeah, you can do it. But the reverse flick is much more satisfying. I just have a hard time getting a hold of it because my fingers are very sausage-like. And I have a hard time getting in between the blade and the scales here, just because it's such a smaller knife. But I do really enjoy this. I bought it just because I saw that Metal Complex said it was a fantastic budget EDC knife, and I really, really like the aesthetics of this guy. So I ran out and I bought it. This particular one is my sentimental knife, I guess you would call it. This was my grandfather's knife that he passed down to me before he passed away. Obviously nothing special. I can't remember if this is a Smith & Wesson or what this was, but it's in disrepair, obviously, but I will someday get it restored, I'm sure. But just your standard, you know, plastic bone knife. There's nothing special about it. I think he did have something engraved on it at one point, but that was decades ago. You can see the scales here are cracked, and it's just not in the best of shape, but it's a sentimental piece for me to keep in my collection. Next up is the DEMKO 8020S. So this is not the 8020. This is the 8020 Slim. I don't have one to compare with you, but this is obviously going to be slimmer than the regular AD20, which if you know what you're looking at, then you'll see, yes, this is much thinner than a regular AD20, but it's the closest that I've been able to get to the AD20, and I really, really love that knife. I got some original goat scales for it, just regular, I believe, aluminum. Yeah, aluminum with just a blue coating on it. Pineapple, I think was what they called the pattern on here. Stainless steel pocket clip. Shark lock, which is the centerpiece of this knife, and I love the blade. I love sheep's foot blades for sure, shark's foot blades, but it's a really cool knife. Love this knife. I will have an AD20 someday, but I don't. The Wee Big Banter. I've never been interested in the Banter. I've never been interested in the Baby Banter, but I was absolutely 100% interested in the Big Banter when Ben released this guy. Such a beautiful knife. A lot of people have an issue with the fact that it's got a finger choil and a cutting choil. I don't really give a shit. I don't know why you want to waste your time worrying about it. Micarta scales. Stainless steel liner lock, nothing fancy, nothing special, just a good knife, just a good workhorse of a knife, and it's cool. It's a little expensive, but that's okay. Ben's got to eat too, right? Next up is the Manganas steel CHAIMANO. I think this is my top 3 in my collection. Fantastic action. My buddy Sharif designed it. The thumb flick works great. The middle finger flick works great. The flipper tab works great. Everything works great on this knife. Fantastic detent. The titanium looks spectacular to me. I love the way this looks. A lot of people are getting theirs polished, and that looks really, really nice too. I don't really use mine enough to really be that concerned about it. I love the geared backspacer. But I totally understand why people, you know, variety is the spice of life. Nice little poon here, opening hole, pocket clip, blah, blah, blah. Love this knife. I love the blade shape on this guy. It's so sick looking. I really love this knife. If you haven't gotten one of these, I believe there are still some available. If you're interested, just go to manganasteel.com and pick it up. Next up is the Varga Knives VBR. Very, very nice knife. Standard EDC size, I think about 8 inches with a 3.5 inch blade and a generous finger choil. That's his logo up there. Just thumb studs. The thumb studs were added to this knife. This was just a flipper only operated knife. But the thumb studs were added, I think, in Gen 3, which that's what this is. I think he called this snakeskin carbon fiber or something like that. Little milled pocket clip. Very, very cool knife. Nice aesthetics, nice ergonomics. It just fits well in the hand. It feels like it was made just to fit well in your hand, and that's what Mark does. He doesn't make a lot of different variants. He makes 1 or 2 things. He makes them exceedingly well. The Spartan Knives Spartan Harsey Folder, Plague Doctor Edition. Nice fidgety knife, frame lock. It's got, you know, a nice little flick open rather, with the thumb studs. I can reverse flick it, and it's not a drop shut knife, but it's on bearings just like a Chris Reeve, about the same quality. Titanium, nice thick titanium, lots of jimping, kind of like a mix between a Hinderer and a Chris Reeve, in my opinion. Nice brass hardware here with that biohazard symbol there, Plague Doctor there. Do not fear, my dear, on that banner. Very beautiful etching. The COVID virus right here, little arrow on the pocket clip. Really love this knife. It's such a cool knife. This is just a bunch of budget knives that I have here because I didn't really have any place else to put them. I'm not going to be keeping these in here for the rest of time. When I have something that's worth a little more money, I will take this out and I'll put that in here. This one is the Kubi Anteater, which you can see why I don't use it. Doesn't have exactly the greatest action in the world. This is running on bearings, but for some reason you really have to flip it to get it to open. But I love the blade shape. I don't mind the handle. G10 obviously isn't terrible. This is a nice budget, I think 25, maybe 30 bucks. I don't know if they carry these anymore though, but I could be wrong. They might still have them. Oh shit. CJRB. CJRB Baracus, maybe? I think this is called the Baracus, but I could be wrong. Burlap, micarta, nice little aluminum orange backspacer here with a lanyard hurl. Nice little flipper tab, kind of like a sheep's warty shaped blade. I don't know if they're going for a poon look there or what was going on, but nice nice for the thumb. This is a cardboard chopping machine right here. I can tell you that much. I used to cut a lot of cardboard with this guy. I think this is called the Baracus though. This one, the CJRB. Yep, I don't remember what they call this one either. CJRB. Yep, I can't remember. I lost it. But this particular lock, I believe they call this the clutch lock. So this is basically just the same thing as an axis lock, but you can just pull it back with your finger and it'll fall back into place. So that's a nice little feature there, but it can be kind of cumbersome to use because as you can see, the pullbacks, if you're going to use that part, is all the way at the front, and you've got to have the butt of your knife in your hand in order for you to pull those back. So it never really took off. If everybody had gigantic hands, this would have been a great lock. But yeah, it never took off. So I think they only put it on these 2 knives. The next one is the CTRB Krag, another one of my favorite knives. This was one of the first knives that I fell in love with when I was into budget knives. Just that big cleaver blade, nice handle shape. I've got the other clutch lock here. This handle's a little bit shorter, so it's not as bad to use this one, but it's not the safest lock in the world either. You have to really practice with it in order to be able to use it. So I think that's why it never really took off. Next up is the CGRB Fossil. I'm sorry, CRKT Fossil. Nice little recurve blade. Just a budget kind of blade. I think I bought this at Walmart. You've got some G10 here, which is kind of milled to look like fossilized dirt or something. I don't know, something stupid. So the stainless steel is pounded here to make it look old and worn. It's a gimmick knife. That's really all it is. I think this was one of the first knives that I ever bought. I was like, oh, this is the coolest thing in the world. I don't know. It's kind of meh now, if you guys know what I mean. Next up is going to be, this is just something that I have in here for the time being, so I didn't have an extra hole. This is the CTRB Hectare, one of the budget knives that I bought recently. I will be reviewing this very shortly and then giving it away to one of you poor bastards. Next up is the Medford Smooth Criminal. Medford Smooth Criminal, sorry. It was right on the tip of my tongue. I could feel it. I was going to stab myself in the tongue if I didn't get it. So this is a button lock S45VN blade steel coated in DLC coating, anodized aluminum, anodized hardware, little titanium pocket clip here, or maybe might be stainless steel. Yeah, I think that's stainless steel. Probably one of Medford's most affordable knives, but as you can see, it's not exactly one of their biggest knives. So take that as you may. I only bought this because I wanted to have a Medford in my collection. I'm over it. I would like to have some Medfords at some point, maybe a 187, possibly what's the name of that knife? The starts with a, I don't know, I forgot. But anyway. The Smooth Criminal is a nice little knife, definitely a hard use knife, but a smaller knife for anybody who's into that. I do have this for sale on Blade Binge, if anybody's interested in that. This one is the KTC3, Coke Tools. I got this off of, where did I get this? EDC,